Hi everyone, welcome to Under the Canopy, a student-led series where we talk all about the people who shape Ann Arbor from the roots to the treetops. I'm your host, Hannah Wen, a local high school student, and I'm hoping to understand what it takes to build a community. My guest today is someone who spent over 20 years building businesses, from a startup that raised $500,000 in capital, to running a statewide venture capital association, to becoming one of the top real estate agents in Michigan. But the venture we're starting with today is one that I wish everyone could know about. In July 2023, she opened Dragonfly and Birch, a boutique in historic downtown Manchester. It's part gift shop, part gathering place with Michigan-made arts and crafts, crystals and metaphysical supplies, books, fudge, and a century-old historical bar. Furthermore, the store hosts a myriad of events monthly as a third space, bringing the community closer together. The name itself is a kind of mission statement. The dragonfly for transformation and adaptability, and the birch for new beginnings and growth. Please welcome the owner of Dragonfly and Birch, Merrill Guerra. I'm so thrilled to
Hi.
have you here. Hi. And I cannot wait for our conversation. Now, I want to start with an opening question. You founded or led very different ventures: a kids' apparel startup, a venture capital association, a real estate brokerage, and now Dragonfly and Birch, which is a mosaic of wonderful things. What's the common thread you bring to all of them?
That's a really good question. I think the common thread is in everything that I have done from the beginning is I see a need and I want to try to meet it. From my startup company, which was a children's plus size clothing company, it was and still is actually a very underserved market.
Mm.
And that led to the idea. And that's kind of been the through line of all of the different things that I've done. The fun thing about Dragonfly and Birch is it started out as this one was more of a creative outlet. And so this has been not so much based on a need that I saw, but more an interest that bloomed. So.
Yeah, I can see that. There's so many things that I love about Dragonfly and Birch, and I can really see your soul in every single section of the store, and I think that's really inspiring. For someone who has never heard of Dragonfly and Birch, how would you describe what you do?
Well, that's also a very good question. Dragonfly and Birch is hard to pinhole. Like you said, it is multiple things. It is a bookstore, a gift shop, a metaphysical store, a third space, an event place. And, really, I think it started out, I started Dragonfly and Birch as a gift shop, and I really wanted to focus on Michigan artists and craftspeople. And so the majority of the products in my store are from Michigan artists and craftspeople. But part of this is when you start a business, you have to pay attention to the market and how things are received. Found out that Manchester, as much as I would love to sell art, it's not really a good market for that. Just it doesn't sell. So that's kind of how I pivoted into books. And the opportunity to be in the old Black Sheep Tavern space, which is a historic space in town, gave me the opportunity to have this amazing 100-plus-year-old bar, and the attending liquor license really opened the opportunity to really lean into that third space. And so at the bar, we have loose leaf teas, again, blended by local Michigan people, but also Michigan wines, mead, cocktails. And, it's just the opportunity to have all these different things kind of play into each other to support a truly, unique and fun
Mhm.
experience. And I think the most important thing for me is that the vibe of the store is welcoming and inclusive. And I think, I don't exactly know how it comes through, but people tell me all the time that they just feel, really calm and home and comfortable in the space. And that's really important to me.
It smells really good too. Yeah,
Yes.
that really makes me feel good. I'm like, wow, I love this place. And something else I'd like to point out is that the dragonfly and birch symbolism is interwoven throughout your branding. Tell me more about them and why the two were selected to be the name of your shop.
So when I decided or when I was looking at the names for this company, I didn't want anything again that was going to pigeonhole it. And because I really did feel like it was the business was going to grow organically.
Hmm.
So that opened it up to really uh, letting the name be something that was more of a guiding principle. And dragonflies are a symbol that have been very meaningful to me. It's about transformation and growth, but it's also about really kind of coming into who you are as a
Hmm.
person and the awakening and acknowledgement of that process. And I have a dragonfly tattoo that I've had predated the business because that's just been a part of it.
Hmm.
And then the birch. So, some people might be familiar in Celtic tradition. Instead of like sun signs that they do in astrology, your birth date gives you a tree sign. And so I'm a birch tree
Mm.
sign. But birch, I've always felt drawn to birches, both white paper and river birches. I just think they're gorgeous. Like
They are, yeah.
they're amazing trees. And as I looked into that again, the symbolism, it's about flexibility.
Hmm. Hmm.
Trees and birches, especially, like they bend and flow with the wind. They don't break. And again, I thought that was a perfect kind of metaphor for what
Yeah.
I saw this business becoming. It was
Hmm.
going to be something that, would bend and flow and move with the wind, but wasn't going to break. It was going to grow
Hmm.
and nurture. So, yeah. So that's kind of how the name came to be.
On like the line of flexibility, I really enjoy the name Dragonfly and Birch because you didn't name it gift shop or bar. You named it Dragonfly and Birch so that the label couldn't limit you and you can basically grow it to whatever you want it to be. And that's like I see how like you've expanded that into books and like things that you weren't expecting in the first place.
Yeah.
But on that line, what's your curation philosophy for what gets onto the storefront and what doesn't?
I pretty much things that bring me joy. Like
Mhm.
that is, and again, I try as much as possible to stay within because I mean, there's so many creative and amazing people and products like
Mhm.
all over the country, all over the world. But I've have such a strong connection to Michigan. Not a native, but my children are, and we've been here, since 2000. And so it's important to me to support the local community where I'm at.
Mhm.
But, outside of that, it's what, brings me joy. I will be
Mhm.
looking, through the different things I use. So as I do have some consigners that are local and they've either found me or I've reached out to them and
Mhm.
I carry their products. But most of the rest I find on a platform called Fair, and I will be looking
I see.
through people's catalogs and and regularly sit there and chuckle to myself as I see different things. And if it gets a laugh out of me, there's a high likelihood I'm going to order it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, and that's like and that's served, that's done, it's pretty well,
Mhm.
like, and again, it's like you're always looking to see what, you know, connects with your clientele,
Mhm.
and, it just I found out, like, the art just wasn't something that moved as well, even though it gave me great joy, so that is part of being a good business person is, like, acknowledging, what parts of your vision are connecting with your audience
Mhm.
and acknowledging, what isn't so much
Mhm.
and, pivoting when you need to. So there's not, I would say I have a pretty good hit rate with
Yeah.
things that bring me joy, that bring my customers joy. And, but I also have so many things that bring me joy
Mhm.
that like I can easily, things that don't, they go on the clearance shelf and make room for new things. So it's always evolving.
Yeah, I really think that that's an important lesson to just, like, not put all of your eggs in one basket even though you want to. it's important to diversify and like try out new things. But was there a first item or like product category that you knew had to be in the store from day one?
Well, so the store itself actually was born out of so I am ADHD, and it was a
Mhm,
hyper focus on a new, basically
mhm,
creative outlet. And I still have a lot in my store. Basically I take upcycled items, mostly, fun, different glass faces and whatever, and
mhm,
then, put transfers on them so that they're, it gives them new life. They're beautiful and fun, and the price point is really reasonable. And when I started doing that, I started doing like craft fairs and vendor fairs. So, set
mhm.
up a tent. Very quickly learned that being in these outdoor craft fairs in wind with a product that's very breakable was was not a fun
Oh, no.
experience. I
Tragedy.
I lost I lost a lot of product.
Oh, no.
So that kind of, out of that came, like, how about a store? But obviously
Mhm.
the store can't be all one item. Like,
Yeah.
that's just, it doesn't matter how amazing your item is.
Mhm,
That's just boring. That's kind of what created the whole idea for the store in the first place. And then from there I went, well, I'm a crafts person, so let's expand this to
mhm.
other local crafts people, and that's kind of how I went from there.
Yeah, that's good. And it also makes me think, like, even if you are, like, the most beautiful shade of green, some people's favorite color is just pink, and there's nothing you can do about it except maybe adapt to that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
something that I noticed and I really liked about Dragonfly and Birch is that it isn't just a retail space, but it's also a gathering space where community is built. How do you think that has shaped Dragonfly and Birch and basically what it is today?
That's something that, I'm I'm so excited that you picked up on, because that really is, I definitely, when I moved into that space, and I kept the whole area by the bar as
Mhm,
a space that could be easily adjusted to
mhm,
meet just different needs, and so that we could have, um, an opportunity for people to gather. And,
mhm,
I never, even with the liquor license and, being able to serve alcohol, I still am very intentional that, I don't want it to be just a bar.
mhm,
That is that is not the vibe. But having the opportunity to serve, both alcohol and non-alcoholic drinks, and, the loose leaf teas, and and just to have this welcoming space where people can gather for a variety of different events is something that I'm learning more to lean into, like the whole, schedule of events and all the different things that we're starting to do. It's, that's taken a while for me, especially because it is just me. And so I have limited bandwidth to do everything I want to
mhm,
do. But that has been something that I'm very excited about. And the reception has been amazing. And like the variety of types of events that I can hold there and bring to the community, it gives me an opportunity to do something different that we don't necessarily get in Manchester that often. Like, I had Voce Velata there, and, it was, standing room only. We
mhm.
more than sold out, and people in the community really loved it. We're very
Oh,
excited, and they want to have, Voce Velata back and more events like that. We have an author who's an author out of Pinckney, who is going to be coming to talk. She's the founder of the Michigan Aurora Chasers, and talks about, she has books on, uh, the Aurora Borealis and dark skies, things like that. They're just different kinds of events. And then, we have psychic fairs so people can come in and,
mhm.
get a tarot card reading or get energy work done. And, we have a pirate's mead tasting. You can dress up like a
Ooh.
pirate and come taste different kinds of mead. So it's like a bunch of different kinds of things. But, I guess the through point again for all of that is, different opportunities for connection and
Mhm.
community, and, in different ways than, people might not be like used to, experiencing that. especially in our little town.
Yeah, it's Manchester is a small town, and something I've noticed is that, like, if you had just picked one event and just run it consistently always, the same types of people would show up to each event. And since you have a variety of events, different people come to these events, allowing different people to meet different people, in turn bringing the community closer together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, every time there's a different event, what I'm starting to see is that people like they'll have a really good time at one event and so they want to try a different event. And it might be
Mhm,
something that they've never done before. So yeah, so really it does like it's just kind of that process of
mhm.
building connection and community.
I think I really love that about Dragonfly and Birch. I think it's a very unique thing for a store to have. Also, for context for the listeners, Voce Velata is a chamber group that I'm a part of that basically serves to illustrate a more inclusive classical music canon, inclusive of all voices, such as people of color or women, especially since, like, a lot of classical music today is just old white men who are currently dead. But yeah, it's really fun. And we had a show at Dragonfly and Birch a couple weeks ago, and it was just amazing. And now my final question is, what's the hardest part of owning a store that you didn't anticipate coming from, like, real estate and startups?
That's like all good questions that I didn't anticipate. I think because I've done such a variety of things, like most of my challenges with the store come back to again being, owner operator, just me. And I think, the challenges kind of flow out of that. And I kind of, I anticipated that. I think I would actually flip it and say what the, unexpected benefit or, advantage or joy that
Mhm,
that I have discovered is like I have an amazing group of friends, close circle of friends that I
mhm,
have made since we moved to town. And they have like I couldn't run this business without them. They are the ones who when I need help, they'll step in
mhm,
and, work the store for me or help take care of my dog if I can't get home to walk her in a
mhm,
time frame. So it's really that, I guess the unexpected benefit is like, with a business like this, just like with a child, it takes a village.
mhm. It does take a village, yes.
Yeah. And you can't, uh, you can't do everything on your own.
Mhm,
But the thing is, like, when you create that community, you don't
mhm,
have to. Like, we were, as humans, we were never meant to
mhm,
do stuff on our own. We
mhm,
were always meant to be in connection, in community, so that we had those supports. Like, as individuals in the wilderness, we die. But if together we support one another, we live, thrive,
mhm.
have
Yes,
joy, have love, all
yes.
the things. So that's, I think, probably one of the biggest lessons that
Mhm.
that I've learned um and that I treasure.
Yeah, like, you might think that you're doing it alone, but then when you ask for help and then you receive that help from your loved ones, you really realize how full of love your life is, and, like, it's just so satisfying because it's just, like, it makes my heart happy. Thank you for tuning in today. On the next episode, we will continue the conversation with Merrill, but this time about a different business. Before Dragonfly and Birch, there was real estate, and it's still very much part of the picture. It's a pretty interesting pairing when you think about it. One business built on helping people find a home, and another built on helping people feel at home the moment they walk through the door. On the next episode, we dig into how these two worlds intersect and what it's like wearing both hats in the same small town. So, if you found value in today's episode and are curious to hear more, hit subscribe or follow and leave a review. Hope to see you again soon.